Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we're going to give all praise and glory unto
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors under the elders of Apostle Great Millstone, the elders of Great Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect. This is here, Summer say Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, serving the truth and sincerity. Of course, it teaches us this word doing a sit down. It's basically a storm out there, snow, but still doing the work of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. So, to start off with, you can give Revelation, or you got something?
We can start with what you got first.
Gone. So, I'm going to give what I got.
Okay.
So, to start off, it says, this Revelation 12, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Exactly. If you not understand how the devil is Esau Edom, so-called white men, Esau strong with the elites, of course, of the society. Well, ultimately, they understand that their time is short. It says, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. That's why he's moving so quick, with his agendas. AI, 6G, of course, DJ Trump, moving quickly, with his things. You got the recent event with Venezuela, him capturing Maduro, basically, getting all the of course, oils and stuff. Hey, ultimately, it goes to show you that we are at the end. Matthew chapter 24 goes into the rumors of wars, and famines and pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. Yep. Second Ezra chapter 15, 16. Yeah, clearly we are in those times where, again, all these things, clearly we're assembling in these times, and this is only going to continue to get worse. And Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, of course, is speeding up the days for the elect's sake.
Right. Yeah, and of course, even from the start of 2026, everybody's in the spirit of, this is my year, New Year's resolution, kind of building a life in this society. But what we're seeing is, major leaps in prophecy. Like the brother was going into, we see this guy Trump, and he's completely just moving recklessly like a madman, all right? Moving with that pride, all right? Going into, invading Venezuela, all right, setting out threats to Iran, looking at Greenland to conquer, all right, going into these, other, South American countries, all right, we see this devil is completely coming with that great wrath. And, Esau, he was all about kind of moving with that secret counsel with this wickedness, but we really seeing this devil, truly showing his horns, all right, showing, who he truly is. And we're currently seeing, everybody kind of, starting to take heed of who the devil truly is, who this devil truly is, this devil being exposed. All right? Yeah, so I'll read this. This is Matthew, the book of Matthew 12 and 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Yeah, we're currently seeing America, going towards a civil war. All right, the people are divided. People against Trump. Esau versus Jake. All right, people going against ICE. Protesting against ICE, which was coming out that they're getting trained by the tiny tops. The lil hats. All right, so we're currently seeing the people in the uproar, and it's going to get to the point where these people are going to start coming after these different police officers, politicians, all right, the different leaders of Babylon the Great, all right, and all hell just going to completely break loose. This is why we got to stay in the spirit, continue to go into these prophecies, man. You don't really see, these different, Christians, even other camps, really dive into prophecy. All right, you got the Christians who think that there's no time of tribulation, right? Thinking that, it's going to be a rapture and they're not going to have to endure So they're not being built up. They're not going to have the faith. They're not going to have the faith to take heed. When the MOTB come to pass, that goes into the hour of temptation. It's not going to be something that comes to pass and, it's optional to take it. There's going to be, it's okay. No, Esau's going to look to put you to death, make you an outcast of society. All right. This is, having the MOTB, is going to be a way that people look to feed their families, man, feed themselves. If you dependent on these different, prescription drugs and, things of that nature, you going to have to take the MOTB in order to, get your monthly dose. You see? So, we're coming into a time where, we got to be serious. It's not a game to be played, not to tarry, not to be focused on, building on this side, building communities, buying land. All right, we got to be focused on the Lord's return, and brothers have been going into, spiritual power, the chariots, all right, the MOTB, you don't really see these different camps going into that because they don't got the spirit of the Lord on them, So you got some?
Yeah, Khan. So it says, Sirach 39:1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies. See? So the main thing that we're occupied in is prophecies. We're not focused on these other things. We're not focused on things that aren't prophesied to happen. Such as, again, building up farmlands and trying to create black land, as you guys say, doing land blitz or whatever. Ultimately, why? Because that's not according to prophecy. Scriptures say how Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed. So why are we going to store up our treasures here within, of course, this kingdom where moth and rust doth corrupt, and especially where everything's going to be burned up. We know, of course, Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to be burned up very soon. So why are we going to invest in farmlands that take years and years to cultivate? It makes no sense. Of course, we maintain right now as we're speaking, but we're not going to, we're going to have a long-term Babylonian plan, as if this place is going to go on forever.
Yep.
So read again, it says, Sirach chapter 39:1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. Yeah, the wisdom. So, ultimately, how we're supposed to be thinking, as the scriptures say, Isaiah 33:6, wisdom, knowledge, will be stability of thy times. So ultimately, what the wisdom, knowledge is going to be what's, of course, ultimately it's going to be the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yashai keeping us. But with the spirit, we're going to have the wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And right now, the Lord's just training us up, within his wisdom, knowledge, understanding. But again, to prepare us for these times to come. Because ultimately, we have the wisdom, of course, it's like the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, to know what to do, which is, all of it goes back into trusting in Yahweh Bashim Yashai.
That's it. And, and that's what it is, the wisdom, knowledge, the understanding of the scriptures. The Lord put the spirit on certain men, to have faith and have that understanding of the scriptures. All right. Wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that will be stability. That will keep you secure. All right. Like like you had that one Jake last week that was saying all type of madness. All right. Just all over the place. Just pretty much saying things that is not going to help him, during the times to come, during Jacob's trouble.
It's not even helping him, in the current situation.
He can't, yeah. It's not going to help him when, a female troop grab his ass up, all right? When Esau's looking to put him to death. Oh, I created everything. I did this, I did that. Going into all this different, left-handed knowledge. All right, that's not going to help him during that day. You need to understand the scriptures. Have faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You need to have faith and works in the Lord. All right, things that are help. How's that going to help him during the hour of temptation? A guy like that is, he seemed mentally bugged out, man. He's probably going to take the C hit. You see. So this is why we got to be focused on what we're supposed to be focused on, which is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. And don't get me wrong, certain things you should know, at least, to stay away from, right? You stay away from certain left-handed practices, certain symbolism, all right, and things of that nature. But, to dive too deep into it and just to, it's not really necessary. See? So, was that it for that?
Yeah,
That's what you
that's
got? All right. So this is the book of 2 Peter 3:9. It says, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. Yeah, so the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. And we're currently seeing, the prophecies and that the men of the Lord have been speaking, starting with the apostles on down. It's all coming to pass. The Lord is not slack. People just think we outside, complaining, not doing nothing. All right, we just out there, we're not willing to, be carnal and do certain things that's, of course, that's not conducive to the spirit. All right, we're preaching a sure word of prophecy, and what we've been preaching, we're seeing that come to pass, So, verse 10, it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. Yeah, so the day of the Lord is going to come as a thief in the night. That's why, you shouldn't tarry. The scriptures also go into peace of safety and then sudden destruction. So we understand that, we have to be ready constantly. We have to constantly be on fire, man. We can't take our hand off the plow, focus on, taking weeks off in the truth, in order to, because during that time that you're cold, all hell can break loose. All right, the Lord is only dealing with those that's constantly on fire, not those that are cold, lukewarm. All right, we constantly have to be meditating on, the times that we in, and be prepared. All right. So continuing 2 Peter 3:10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And that's going into the thermonuclear destruction that's prophesied, all right, to take place in Babylon, And when it goes into, the works that are therein shall be burned up, that means everything that's been built up, from the skyscrapers, from people's homes to the cars, all right, to the whatever valuable possessions that these people may have worked for and built up in this place, that's all going to be burnt up. So that's why we're not focused. That's why we're focused on the glory that's to come in the kingdom, and not this place. We understand that this place only has a short time to go. Verse 11, seeing that then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are you to be in all holy conversations and godliness, looking for and hasten unto the coming of the day of Yahweh, wherein the heavens shall be on fire, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. There you go. So we hastening in the time of the Lord's coming. We're not making extended plans for 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future, what's your plan 5-10 years from now, man? All right, hopefully we in the kingdom at that point. That's what we hoping on. That's what we hastening for. And when you get that word for hasten, it goes into like a earnest desire. If the brother want to get that, look up that word for hasting.
Gone. So it says, which one is that?
2 Peter 3:12.
Gone. So it says hasting in the Greek. It says spudo, meaning says to desire earnestly.
Yep. So to desire earnestly. All right. So these people are hastening the wrong things. In money. The status of this place. All right, looking to be perceived a certain way in this kingdom, building a life in this kingdom. All right, trying to, deliver themselves by their own means, by their own hands, with weapons and, protesting and, things of that nature. We waiting on the Lord. We understand that, the Lord is going to come back to grant us that deliverance. We can't overthrow this society by our own means. All right, that's all gonna come through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, man. All right.
Exactly. I was going to say, weigh ye upon me. So, we're not supposed to be, and hey, that's a show, or it goes to show that these guys lack faith, and ultimately, they don't believe on these scriptures that they're reading.
That's it.
Ultimately, they're extracting certain things that I guess benefits them, but they don't want to submit on to the things that again are pretty much, are contrary, to their wants.
Yep.
Which again their wants are according to the flesh. Our wants, of course, are according to the spirit. What Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua said, which is what of course, this place falling, and of course, Yahushua coming back to establish his, of course, righteous rulership upon this planet Earth. But hey, again, Jake is, the majority of Jake aren't sticking for that. They're sticking for the prosperity of this place.
Right. Yep. And we're not gonna be out here, trying to, change the doctrine and, saying that the heathens can repent and, have salvation and things like that. All right. If you teaching that, if you just started teaching that, the spirit of the Lord is completely off of you, man. And you got guys that think that they, just because that they teach that, maybe the Esau is gonna grant them some type of mercy or something like that, which completely, if you're teaching that for that reason, you just lost the faith, man. All right, because it doesn't matter what you teach. Esau, he's still gonna associate you with certain groups and pushing a certain message against the government. You anti this, anti that. All right, and just because you're a Jake. Just because you're a Jake, Esau's going looking to put that hell on you, man. You got to remember that Esau has a perpetual hatred for you Jakes, whether you're in the truth or not. All right, whether you a nigga like Anton Daniels, or whether you a nigga like Alazar. All right, whether you the most Uncle Tom, Jake, it doesn't matter. Esau is looking to so-called make America great again for the Edomite.
Yeah. Jake, as that one so-called conspiracy, they have the red list, the blue list, the yellow list. Yeah, Jake thinks that just because he's in line with Esau's Esau's commandments and his agenda, because we know that these guys took a bag, they're following after that 501c3. Jake thinks that he's going to be on that yellow list. Nah, hey, ultimately, you still are or ultimately, you still have the knowledge that, of course, could affect Esau within NWO. Once things turn up, again, you're Jake's gonna be, switching up then. But hey, now, of course, ultimately Esau looking to get everybody who could pose a threat to his NWO.
Yeah, and if you're teaching that Esau was put in power, prophetically, because we went off and you have any type of understanding of prophecy, what's the point of siding with this man? Because this man is going to get taken out of power. All right, but that just goes to show that the lack of faith that Jake actually has, man. Or just the fact that Jake want to stay in Babylon a little bit longer. Jake want to establish himself in Babylon. Jake want a kingdom or a slice of cake and eat it too in this kingdom. All right, but that's not how Esau set it up. That's not how the Lord set it up. You see? So you got something?
Yeah, it says 2 Thessalonians 2:1. It says, "Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day," it's like it says, "as that the day of a Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Yeah, the falling away, of course, is us, losing this truth. But, of course, during that 350-year period of us being in slavery, scriptures go into that, that prophecy. Ultimately, we are completely destitute from the truth, and ultimately, what Esau had to wear. Again, we are completely, we of course, it's like it completely didn't have the truth. Of course, Esau again, pushed out his doctrine upon our people. It says it's like it says, in that man of sin be revealed. Yes, so that man of sin, of course, is Esau, the son of perdition, who opposed and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as a Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is a Most High, and that, hey, is that not this devil?
Right.
With Esau and all the things that he does, what he has Palantir, he has AI, he has, of course, all this surveillance, he has all this control.
Yeah.
He does, of course, all, this, mass manipulation, with the media.
He blasphemed, the name of the Lord, the image of the Lord.
Yep.
All right, it's made it like unto himself, made plantation Christianity, pretty much made that the religion of this world. When you go into Job 9:24, he basically when it goes to him covering the judges thereof, all the men of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, he's making it seem like the Edomites were those men of the Lord. Which we know that's completely false, and like the brother is reading, is really being exposed that you was the wicked this whole time, and all that the plantation Christianity was going into. It was just the justification for your greed and justification of you invading these different nations. All right, causing war, taking their natural resources. That's all that the plantation Christianity was about this whole time, and people are starting to realize this. You see?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
manifest destiny.
Yeah.
We haven't forgot about that. And we're currently seeing it today. This guy Trump Nero, right? That cruel lord. All right, going out, he's doing whatever the hell he wants. He doesn't. He believes in that everything belongs to him, and he wants to set himself as the Most High. You see?
Yeah, which at the end of the day, we know that this guy's just an actor.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, this
but
guy.
Ultimately, we understand. The elite still put again. Okay, Trump. You got to do this. You got to do that. Okay, you got to attend this.
He's the face.
That. Yeah, he's a face.
Yep.
So, it's just like if let's say a manager of a company, he has a manager. He has basically the people above him that he needs to listen to.
Exactly.
That he needs to report to.
Yeah.
So Trump is not just solo, doing his own thing. Now he has people that you got to report to that are hidden that you can't see.
Yeah. As an employee, you're only gonna see the managers and some supervisors. You're not really gonna see the owners, like that, the CEOs. All right, the guy that sits at the very top. You really not gonna see that guy like that. They're gonna be kind of in the shadows. All right, and how when the the management comes down and they're pretty much like, yeah, I'm getting yelled at from you don't see them type of conversations. All right, these different rulers and or the elites and stuff like that. Oh, it stopped.
Oh, no, it's good.
Okay, all right. They probably going in on Trump, behind the scenes. That's why he's moving like that. That's why these different interviews you seeing him, he looking like out of place, out of his mind, man. All right, hey, this devil is scrambling, man. You see?
Yeah. Being almost about near 80 years old now.
Yeah. Yep.
That dude, his health is out of whack.
Right. Yep.
So hey, we'd be surprised if you have much longer left. So it says 2 Thessalonians 2:5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I said I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. So yeah, he's being revealed in his time. And again, Trump being that main face of the Edomite, what he's making these things come to pass.
Right.
It says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Exactly. So hey, he's already working. It says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. It said, and then shall that wicked be revealed. So capital W, speaking about Esau. It says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spear of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Exactly. So now that wicked is being revealed, and we understand, again, going back to the point, Esau, being a so-called white man, again, he is of course the wicked. So it says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom this Lord shall consume with the spear of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Exactly. So once Yahushua comes back, first and foremost, Esau's being revealed right now. So of course, all these other nations are seeing, what this devil is doing. But hey, of course, that's going to lead on to World War III. We understand, the headquarters of Esau is America. So this place is going to be taken out first and foremost. Of course, within World War III, scriptures going to World War III. But once Yahushua comes back, he's coming back to finish the job. We understand America is going to be destroyed, but again, ultimately, America isn't the only Edomite nation. You have of course other Edomite nations, within the around the world. You got Russia, you got the EU, and of course NATO nations. Well, of course, Yahushua is coming back to take down those nations too, and as well as the rest of the heathen.
Yep.
It says, verse 9, even him, so 2 Thessalonians 2 and 9, even him whose coming is after the working of saying, with all power and signs and lying wonders. So literally he's ascribed to be his coming is after the working of saying. So literally, his of course his doings, his works are after the ways of saying. It says with all power and signs and lying wonders. Because we understand how Esau uses his left hand, basically what's the word? Basically, his technology, his left hand miracles.
Right.
He's making the blind walk. It's like he's making the blind see. He's making the paralyzed walk. And again, he's doing all these miracles. He got AIs. Such revolutionary. New it's like technology. Again, he's using his signs and wonders. It says, verse 10, with all deceivableness of unrighteousness and them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And ultimately, that's going to the Israelites who don't want to repent. And that's the majority of our people. It says, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness and them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Yeah, and ultimately, we know the truth. It's of course, it's over here in Great Millstone.
Right.
And again, you got these other camps, you got these jakes who basically don't want to listen. So guess what? It says, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So ultimately, they didn't, of course, receive the love of the truth. Of course, Yahweh Shem Yashai uses his prophets to push out the truth. And again, the true prophets are what the men in Great Millstone. So ultimately, again, the majority of Jake doesn't want to listen. So ultimately, they, of course, it's like they won't be saved, and of course, accounted worthy to escape all these things that are coming right now as we speak.
Yep. And we coming and preaching through truth and sincerity. Having the fear of the Lord, actually having faith that the Lord is going to come and do these things. That's why, of course, we go into, we're in the spirit of prophecy. We're constantly in prophecy. We're constantly looking for the signs of the Lord's coming. We don't put a price tag behind the truth. We don't monetize, our videos, have a 501c3 covenant. The scripture's going to not make a merchandise of the truth. So, we're completely coming through the spirit of power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. We're not the type to do gimmicks, and things like that. We're serious about this word. You see? Go ahead.
It says 2 Thessalonians 2 and 11, and for this cause the Most High shall send a strong delusion that they shall believe a lie. Yeah, and ultimately these guys have a strong delusion within their minds, man, because ultimately, of course, obviously, if they had the spirit, then they will be able to see what Yahweh Shem Yashai, of course, is saying through his prophets. But ultimately, again, the majority of Jake can't see.
Yeah.
You got Jake trusting in the land blitz. We got to build up here. Yeah, we already have the examples of how we can't build up here. Of course, you got Black Wall Street. You got basically Esau coming up against these self-sustaining communities that Jake was building.
Yep.
Ultimately, as the scriptures say, and again, you can't override prophecy. You can't override the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
Scriptures say in Micah chapter 2:10 how this isn't our rest. So no matter how much you try to build your community, you try to store up things here, you try to build up a huge congregation and be self-sustaining, just and create this community where you're completely separated from Esau's economy and this and that. No, ultimately that's not going to happen, because again this isn't our rest, and of course this is Esau's kingdom. This is his world.
Yep. Especially a time like this, man. The economy about to crash. Rent is going up. Inflation. All right. The homelessness crisis is going up, man. All right. This isn't our rest. All right. You got ICE putting hell on Jake's. So Esau's putting everything into play. In order for him to have that the reset that he wants. All right, which turning everything digital, giving everybody the micro C hip, and you're not going to be able to do anything in the society unless you take that micro C hip. You're not going to be able to just live outside and take a city for yourself and build up your own thing. Esau's not going to allow that to happen. So we coming into a time where it's either, you cling on to the faith of the Lord, or you're just going to be destroyed. That's it. Go ahead.
It says, verse 11 or verse 12 of 2 Thessalonians 2. It says that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. And we're seeing you got Genesis, you got. So of course, that's Sakari. Ultimately, what they got pleasure in unrighteousness, and one of the main things that they do is again teach lies,
right.
be false prophets, and what be of course wolves, of course among the sheep, of course deceiving the people. As the scriptures say, if you don't warn the people. Basically, the blood's gonna be upon the blood's gonna be upon your hands.
That's it. And you should be able to see, what these different Israelite groups have became. You got the IUIC, constantly changing the doctrine, constantly going off saying that they don't got the name of the Lord. All right, you got groups like Sakari, Genesis. They're always in some type of some type of scandal. All right, some type of wickedness, some type of changing the doctrine, or now you got these different what do you call them? Splinter groups or whatever that came from Sakari, and they're just waxing, huh?
Like offshoots.
Yeah, offshoots. Coming off and just going off. All right, we're seeing this. ISUPK. They don't know the breakdown of the MOTB. They're looking to build land on this side, slandering, the men of the Lord. So the Lord is making it seem who the true prophets of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are. The Lord is sifting, and the Lord is making the Ezekiel the 33rd chapter. Then shall it be known that a prophet have been among them. All right, and we're seeing that GMS is the camp that's been right the whole time. Not changing the doctrine. The apostles. I think it was the Apostle Tahar that posted pretty much a kind of a video going about maybe 10, 15 years back at least. And they were preaching the same thing.
Yeah, hey, no, that's crazy, man. Because you can go back 2012. Hey, it feels like it's completely the same, man.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. You can, and that's how you know it's spiritual, man. Because it's not. There's not. You like if you were to watch those videos from 2007, 2008, 2009. It's not like they're outdated. All right, it's not like it's not like it's outdated or
it's not like they're like just what's the
Yeah.
word? Newbies within the scriptures.
Yeah,
and,
it still applies.
yeah, and they're
You know?
still very yeah, obviously you can tell that they've been out there.
Yep.
So hey, it says 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:1. But other times and in seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh up, it's like it cometh upon them.
Yeah. So everybody thinks it's all good. You still have people, living in mirth, all right, eating and drinking, right, giving into marriage, right, because, of course, we're living in the times of Noah. So these are the same people that, that day is going to overtake them like a thief. They're gonna be taken as a snare, because they're not truly, into these prophecies. All right, they're not building up, their faith. They're not building themselves up in what's to come. So people are just gonna be, running around, not knowing what to do, right? When you go into the book of Isaiah, when it says giving in, to charmers and familiar spirits and things like that, they're going to see that all their beliefs, all the things that they've ever believed in, it's going to fail them during that day. And at that point, that's when they're going to be looking for the prophets. But at that point, we're not going to be on the highways and hedges still. We're not going to be pushing out the word. It's going to be the famine of the word.
Yeah. Like you have that spirit that you mentioned, that you got Iran now, they're going through they call it internet blackout, where they shut down the internet and over there, so the people can't be of course reporting what's occurring.
Yep.
So it's a lot of things that aren't hitting the news. We understand how a lot of people are dying within these protests.
Right.
There's a government crackdown, of course. As I like to say, hey, ultimately, the same thing is going to come to America, but it's going to be much worse. So
Yeah.
we're seeing these things happening around the world, but guess what? What's coming to America? And again, there's already things, a lot of things happening. You got of course, ICE. You got again, basically, of course, Esau ramping up with his, it's like within his agenda. Again, ultimately, it's like the rest of the things that we see around the world, such as again the wars. It's all going to come to here, and guess what? Yahweh Shem Yashah is saving the best for last. And ultimately, we're seeing how we're, of course, transitioning, of course, onto that point.
That's right.
So it says, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. I shall veil upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah, so peace and safety. People think that, Trump, what he's doing is good.
Man.
America is on top. Hey, ultimately, he's just speeding up, man. He's just speeding up, of course, World War III.
Especially, yeah, Salaki. But I was gonna say, even especially, you Jakes that voted for Trump, man. You Northern Kingdom, you different, Southern Kingdom as well. That voted for this man to be in power. You voted for a man, all right, that's looking to put that great wrath on you. That's looking to, that's blaming you, all right, for the. For the economic state of America. That's blaming you for being the problem, with America, through all these different, pseudoscience and, saying going into the black fatigue. All right. These different Edomites that's, blaming Jake, right? The everyday common Edomite that that's is looking to make himself feel better. Just going in. These are the Edomites that voted for Trump, man. All right, so you different Jakes, going against ICE and all that. This is what you wanted, man. You see, and you different Jakes, because the when the scriptures go into Jeremiah 30:7, it says Jacob's trouble, and you Jakes is gonna have all types of hell, man. All right, not just from your own people, but the everyday Edomite, that hates you. All right, you got the ICE troops. You're gonna have these different military, police, martial law. So you Jakes is gonna get it from every side, man. And any type of judgment, man. All right, go ahead.
It It says Revelation 18:04, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." Ultimately, that's going to America being destroyed. We know, we of course understand how the deliverance for the elect of the nation of Israel are going to be them, of course, going up into the chariots. Once Yahushua comes back, he's coming back, of course, with his army, and of course, what he's going to dispatch his angels to deliver the elect. Okay. It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities."
Yeah, and basically the Lord, he building up a case against you Edomites. When it goes to the devil being the accuser, going you having a case built up from Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. These Edomites, they like to build RICOs and things like that federally. All right, well, your sins or your iniquity, that's stacking up to the heavens. So the Lord is going to be fully justified, in taking you devils down and putting you straight into captivity, putting you straight to work in the kingdom. You see?
God.
And that's going to be your sentence, your sentencing, your judgment. Right?
Yeah, Khan. And that spirit that you mentioned, that ultimately, again, everything's being accounted for that Esau is doing. As the scripture's going to, Esau thinks that he can go underground, or he can go to the highly top secret meeting and plan this or plan that, and basically none of it's being accounted for. Not ultimately, the angels are literally everywhere. They're taking account of course, every single deed and of course thing that Esau is trying to do.
And that's for all you Edomites, because you got certain Edomites that that was my grandfather, my that was Trump, that was this guy in power. Well, that's your people.
Yeah.
All right, that's your forefathers. And you have that, and each Edomite, they have some sort of a hatred or disdain for the Jakes. All right, each Edomite. All right, you're not. It doesn't matter what Edomite you are. All right, you're not fitting for salvation. The Lord created you to be the wicked. The Lord didn't create you to be righteous like Jacob. The Lord created you, all right, to go off, to be the wicked. All right, to be those who put the Israelites in slavery. You see? So it's no way that you can escape this judgment. No, not by hiding in the clefts of the rocks, building a space force, trying to hide out in space, building, a military to go against, Yahushua. It's no way you're gonna escape, what you have coming. Malachi 4:1, goes into you being the border of wickedness. You're the wicked. That's what you was created to be. The people who the Lord have indignation for forever, man. So it ain't no way that you're going to escape the judgment that the Lord got coming for you, man. You see?
It says, Revelation 18:5, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as he rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled to her double." Yeah, so ultimately what Babylon the Great has done, guess what? Double is going to be done back onto it. So what? Guess what? Everything's going to be paid back double. It says, verse 7, "How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow." And that's a common, Americans, so-called Americans mindset. Because really, these are just, again, it's just a modern day Babylonians. And what their mindset is, America's never going to go down. This place is never going to see. Oh, now this is a first world country. We're never going to see a third world type setting here. Oh, Trump can keep doing this, or again the government of America, can of course keep on doing this, keep doing that around the world, and there's going to be no of course recompense. Now ultimately, again, that's just Yahweh Bashim Yashah saving the best for last. Letting this place rack up until, again, the debt's got to get paid.
Right.
It says, verse 8, "Therefore shall our plagues come in one day, death and mourning and feminine. It says, and she should be utterly burned by fire. For strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Exactly. So her plagues are going to come in one, just like that. Yahweh Shemiel Shah is going to put the spirit on these other nations to launch those missiles, of course, upon this place. And right then and there, Yahshua is coming back, again, to deliver the elect, and ultimately to finish the job, of course, conquering the heathen.
That's it.
But yeah, you got something?
Yep. All right. So this is the book of Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon." Yeah. So this is going into America. All right, because this is America also being known as Babylon. We understand that this is Babylon all over again. When you go into the scriptures, when it goes into Babylon, with certain prophecies, that's currently taking place, and certain prophecies that have yet to take place that haven't taken place in the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So this is going into, when it says virgin daughter of Babylon, it's going into America. And it also is likened unto a virgin, right? Because this place has been untouched, not seriously, invaded, by these different nations, as America has done to these other different nations. All right. It says, "There is no throne." I'll read it again. Isaiah 47:1. "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There was no throne." Yeah, because this place is starting to lose its power. You got these different, it's losing its power, it's losing its influence. These different nations are trying to work on, working outside of the dollar. So, people are pretty much, have had it with America, man. And they ready to, put forth that wrath against it. All right, so this is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get that word for virgin,
Yep.
it says Bathwala, meaning pure, unspotted, so-called as being separated and secluded. Yes, it's from intercourse with men. It says, well, yeah, it says a virgin, pure and unspotted. So ultimately, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, yeah. So ultimately, what and that's add on to the brother's point that this place has been untouched. It's in an unspotted state.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the last thing that you have Pearl Harbor, and you have basically America sending Hiroshima and Nagasaki,
Right.
and really nothing drastic has happened after that.
Right.
But again, Yahweh Shemiel Shah saving the best for life. We just read, therefore a place will come in one day. Because hey, what's being prepared? These other nations are preparing again. For World War III. So once the climax hits, well, guess what? That bun's gonna get hit, and ultimately all those missiles are gonna go up at once. But guess what? It's gonna be a time when you least expect it.
That's it. And that's what's going to touch this place. The thermal nuclear destruction. Those warheads, man. And it also says, "O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Yeah, because this place is known as the land of opportunity. The American dream. Strongest military. Basically, where all the other nations are coming to America to live a better life. All right, but as time is going to progress, as America loses its power, its economic role, all right, people are seeing America for what it truly is. It's not going to be that delicate and delicate, woman. When you think about a tender and delicate woman, you think about a woman that a beautiful woman. Every man wants her. Every man wants something to do with that woman. All right, well, America isn't going to be looked at that. America is also known as, the Lady of Kingdoms, right? That great whore, you see? Verse 2, "Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass me over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yeah, that shame should be seen. And America's, currently being exposed for what it is. Like you had that Hamitic leader, pretty much calling all the world leaders to, be ready to come against Babylon. Looking at what Babylon is doing when it comes to Venezuela, all right, Iran, Greenland, all right, these different nations, pretty much they're pretty much starting to look at that as a threat, that they could be next, you know. Also looking at America as, because America, of course, has that trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, as a debt to be paid, which, of course, America isn't planning to pay that debt, So eventually, all these different nations are going to look at America's madness and know that they've been played the whole time and get mad, and look to come against this place, of course, starting with, the Medes, right? Or the modern day Medes, the Russians, all right, Iranians. So we're currently seeing all this come to play, Verse 3, it says, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. This is going into Yahweh Shai, going into his second coming. He's coming to judge and make war. When he was first on the scene, he was a humble, lowly man, here to, of course, to fulfill his purpose, being that sacrificial lamb, all right, for the nation of Israel. But when he comes back, he's coming to completely take this place over, man, and establish the kingdom of heaven. A lot of people want to talk about, World War III and, things of that nature, where Yahweh Shai is going to come back and, he's going to be the true winner of World War III. All right, because these different nations, it's going to come to a point where, of course, Babylon will be destroyed and these different nations is going to come up and try to come up against Yahweh Shai. All right, well, Yahweh Shai is going to completely, obliterate, all these nations and put them straight into slavery. That's going to be pretty much the ending of World War III, and of course the beginning of the rulership of Jacob. Starting with Yahweh Shai and on down. All right, we looking for that kingdom. That kingdom is about to be established. But first, we got to see these prophecies come to pass. All right.
Yeah, which, hey, these prophecies are happening swiftly. As scripture say, those shorten the days for the elect's sake. So, boy, and brothers are seeing how these days are super short. Again, days feel like, the whole week feels like just, at this point, feels like just, a couple of days at this point.
Hey, 2025 was like, it was quick.
It was quick.
And,
we're already halfway through January, about to hit February. So, each month is starting to feel like, just a few weeks now, 2 weeks. Yeah, I guess you can keep on reading.
Yep. This is Isaiah 47 and it's like verse 4. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel.
Yeah, showing you again. And it's all caps right there. So, the Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. And ultimately what? Heavenly Father Yahweh is going to send back his son Yahweh Shai. What in ultimately Yahweh Shai is going to how, of course, he's going to redeem his people. By him coming back to deliver his people, as scriptures say, he's going to save his people from their sins. Of course, he did that first and foremost, with him, ultimately he of course did that by Slaki being that sacrificial lamb. But ultimately, what Yahweh Shai is coming back to deliver the remnant from again from Esau's world. Which again, Esau's world crumbling if Yahushua didn't come back to deliver the elect from that destruction. Of course, the elect will perish, the elect of the nation of Israel. And again, showing you how important the name of the Lord is, as scriptures say, we of course need the name of the Lord.
Yep.
As Acts 4 and 12 goes to, there's none other name given among men.
Yep. I got some.
Go
This is the book of Ezekiel 9:4. It says, "And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." And that's going into the prophets, because we're speaking against this kingdom. We're not just out there, just complaining and just, this and that, just grumpy men out in the hot. Nah. All right. We're signing and crying for the abominations thereof. We're going against this kingdom. We're speaking against this kingdom. All right. We're waking up our people, taking the blood off our hands, putting our bodies as living sacrifices, in order for what? In order to Lord's will receive that salvation. We understand that, we can't come up on this kingdom. We can't overthrow this kingdom through carnal means. All right. We can't just be looking to build up a life, in this kingdom. All we can do is, fulfill, what's required of us, in order to receive that salvation, because we understand that, us doing what we got to do, the Lord is going to come back and fulfill his promise, and we have faith that that's going to happen, because everything that we're reading, according to this book, that the Lord has given us, it's all been coming to pass, man. So how much more, the Lord coming back with the chariots, with the angels, establishing that righteous kingdom, you see?
Yep.
And it also goes into the mark, right? Going into that mark of exemption. All right. So verse 5, it says, "And to the others he said in mine hearing."
Yeah, by the way, that's not the same as the mark of the beast.
Yeah, that's not the same. It's not the same as charagma, in Revelation.
Yeah, the Hebrew word is thawa.
Yep.
I mean, again, a completely different type of mark. A mark of exemption, as it says, as a sign of exemption from judgment. So completely different from the mark of the beast that Esau is going to come with. His mark, his mark that he's going to put on
Right,
people.
right.
This mark is going to be a mark from Yahweh Bashim Yahshua.
Yep.
It's a spiritual mark.
Yep. Yeah, Esau, he got that physical mark, that carnal mark. A mark that'll brand you as cattle. As being a part of his kingdom. As you're pretty much worshiping him as he's the Most High, because he's trying to sit in the seat of the Most High. All right. Verse 5, "And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay ye utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man whom is the mark and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house." Yeah. So, the Lord ain't going to have a spare, just because you're a woman or, a little child or, you're this top guy in the world. All right. The Lord doesn't have no respect or if you're not a part of the Lord's elect, you're going to get destroyed, man. All right. Going into, the nation of Israel. But if you're a heathen, and you survive, the thermonuclear destruction, all right, World War III, all that, you're going straight into slavery, man. All right. But this is going into, the Lord. He's not gonna just be sparing people. If you don't have that mark of exemption, if you don't have a fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, hey, you're gonna get caught up in that judgment. All right. So you got some.
Yeah, Khan, I think that's it for me.
All right, Khan.
You got some?
Let me see if I got anything else. Yeah, I guess that's it for me. That's it for me.
Yeah, let me go ahead and end it off.
Okay.
Going back. Going back It says, well, let me get this. It says, 1 Thessalonians 5:4, it says, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day shall overtake you as a thief. Ye are all children of the light, and of the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. It says, therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. It says, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and of love for an helmet. It says, the hope of salvation. For the Most High hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahushua Mashiach.
Yep.
Exactly. So ultimately, us teaching these things isn't, to cast down our hopes. Because again, we understand how, again, these scriptures go into, again, perilous, very dark times, and clearly, we're of course in those times. But obviously, it's not to cast down our hopes in Yahweh Bashim Yoshai. Ultimately, what it's to make us rejoice even more.
Yep.
As scriptures say, scriptures go into basically rejoicing always, or basically that, or slightly that's what Apostle Paul said. To constantly rejoice. Yep. And ultimately, that spirit we're supposed to be in. Constantly rejoicing, of course, in the downfall of this place, and of course, Yahweh Bashim Yashai, building us up, and of course, preparing us for the kingdom of Yahushua.
That's it.
And ultimately, Yahushua coming back. Because as the scriptures go into, is constantly, liken us to be a bride being prepared for the bridegroom. Which Yahushua is the bridegroom, and the bride represents, of course, the elect of the nation of Israel. So right now, Yahweh Shemashai is building us up, and of course, preparing us for that wedding, which is when, of course, Yahushua comes back to be his elect, and us being Yahushua, of course, in the air. As good as going to.
Yep.
It says, verse 10, it says, of 1 Thessalonians 5, it says, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we shall live together with him. It says, wherefore come yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do.
Yep. And we woke out of that sleep. All right, we woke out of that darkness, and we're currently being sober, watching for the signs of the Lord's coming, being those watchmen, constantly occupied in prophecy. All right, not being drunken, with the philosophies of this world. All right, we're taking heed to the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All right, not in that day isn't going to overtake us as a thief. All right, because Lord's will, we can endure until the end. And that's our mindset. And that's going to be the mindset of the Lord's elect. All right.
Yeah, put on as the elect, as Scripture's going to. And so, of course, Scripture's going to what? Be being diligent to make our calling and election sure. If you do these things, you should never fail. So ultimately, that's the spirit that we got to be in. Being diligent to make our calling and election sure. And of course, it's all predestined. But again, the Scripture's going to how the elect, again, put on as the elect. So the elect are going to believe, as Scripture say, he who believeth selected. But basically, he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, basically paraphrasing. So, you of course, belief is very important within this thing. Of course, to of course, do the work of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. Gone. So, I will sit on that.
All right, Khan.
But yeah, we can, end it off right here. Those of you brothers that out there edified, we want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakak with us. The honors unto the elders, Apostle Spirit Millstone, the elders Spirit Millstone, of course, peace and blessings, and shalom unto the hopeful elect. Shalom.
Shalom.